Staff Sergeant Daniel Hayes had seen more than his fair share of grief. As a combat medic turned instructor at Fort Brightstone, he'd held the hands of dying soldiers, written letters to grieving families, and learned to mask pain behind layers of discipline and duty. But nothing had ever truly prepared him for the grief that came in civilian clothes, the day his wife, Morgan, was killed by a drunk driver while taking their 5-year-old daughter, Ellie, to ballet practice. Somehow Ellie survived, but the scars from that night ran deeper than skin. In the blink of an eye, Daniel had gone from soldier and husband to single dad and sole emotional anchor for a little girl who often woke up screaming. In the 2 years since the accident, Daniel had built his life around balance: morning drop-offs at the base daycare, rigorous drills with new recruits, paperwork in the afternoon, then bedtime stories and grilled cheese dinners. He was a man shaped by structure, haunted by chaos, and still stumbling his way through the new normal. But beneath the routine lay a man whose heart hadn't yet healed. On a brisk Tuesday morning in early March, Fort Brightstone's training compound felt unusually quiet. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, and frost clung to the window edges like lace. Daniel moved down the corridor of Barracks B-12 with the same calm precision he used for everything. He wasn't scheduled for rounds, but something told him to walk the floor. It was more than habit, it was instinct. The barracks were full of new recruits, mostly fresh out of high school, eager, anxious, and still figuring out what the army demanded of them. As he passed room after room, the faint hum of bunks creaking and distant chatter provided the usual backdrop. But then, from the end of the corridor, he heard something different. Muffled sobs. Soft, broken, and raw. Not the angry kind of crying he'd seen from soldiers pushed past their limit, but something much more fragile. He stopped outside room 213, the farthest door on the left, and gently knocked. No answer. "Private," he called softly. The sobbing paused. After a beat, a shaky voice replied, "Why yes, sir. It's Staff Sergeant Hayes. May I come in?" The silence lingered, and then came a quiet, "Yes, sir." Daniel opened the door slowly. Inside, the barracks room was neat, almost too neat. The top bunk was made with precision, the duffel bag placed exactly in the center under the cot. But on the bottom bunk sat a young woman, legs tucked to her chest, uniform slightly wrinkled, face blotchy from crying. She looked up at him with watery green eyes, strands of auburn hair stuck to her damp cheeks. Her name tag read Ward. Private Elena Ward. 19. One of the best recruits of the class. Always early to drills. Fast runner. Sharp marksman. But painfully quiet. She rarely spoke to anyone unless addressed. Daniel had made a mental note weeks ago: watch her. She's hiding something. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the edge of the opposite bed. She nodded silently. Daniel sat, giving her space. He didn't speak right away. Just watched her collect herself. "You don't have to explain if you're not ready," he said gently. "But you're not alone here. And this, whatever's hurting, it doesn't make you weak." Elena took a breath. "I tried to wait until everyone left for morning PT," she said hoarsely. "Didn't want anyone to see this." Daniel offered a soft chuckle. "Trust me, I've cried in worse places. One time I broke down in the back of a Humvee over a pack of melted M&Ms, turns out it wasn't about the M&Ms. That brought a faint smile to her lips, then it quickly faded. She started, then stopped, her voice cracking. "Today's my brother's birthday. He would have been 21. Daniel's chest tightened. He leaned in slightly, attentive. "He was supposed to be here with me," Elena whispered. "We enlisted together. That was the deal. We always did everything together. From foster homes to schools to jobs, he was my everything." She drew in a shaky breath. "But, the week before basic, he got into a car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light. Killed him instantly. I was in the passenger seat. I got a concussion and some bruises. That was it. I walked away. He didn't. Daniel bowed his head. I'm so sorry, Elena. He was my twin, she added, her voice nearly breaking. Older by 2 minutes. He used to joke that he had seniority over my life. Daniel managed a weak smile, feeling her words stir something deep inside. I joined anyway, she continued. Because it's what we planned. He wanted to serve. Said we could be heroes together. And I couldn't just quit. It felt like if I gave up, I'd be leaving him behind. He nodded slowly. And how does it feel now? She looked down. Like I'm failing. Like I'm wearing a uniform that doesn't belong to me. Every night I hear his voice in my head. Every morning I expect to see him in formation. Daniel stood and gently crossed the room, sitting closer this time. Elena, that's not failure, he said. That's grief. Real, deep grief. And it comes in waves, some days you can breathe, others it pulls you under. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. Why does it still hurt like it just happened? Because love doesn't have an expiration date, Daniel replied. Because you lost a part of yourself. And because the world doesn't stop turning when your heart breaks. They sat in silence for a moment, the morning light slowly spreading across the tile floor. Daniel glanced at the small photo tucked into the corner of her mirror. 2 kids, laughing, carefree, arms slung around each other in old hoodies. That him? He asked. She nodded. You have his eyes, Daniel said softly. Kind eyes. You ever talk to anyone about him? A chaplain maybe? She shook her head. Didn't think anyone would care. Thought I had to be tough. Keep it locked down. He nodded. That's the lie we're taught. That strength means silence. But I've learned, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is cry in front of someone and let them carry a little of that weight. Elena hesitated, then reached under her bunk and pulled out a notebook. She flipped through pages filled with messy handwriting, doodles, lyrics, and scribbled thoughts. Then she stopped at one page and handed it to him. He wrote this, she whispered. Daniel took it gently and read aloud. If I fall before she does, tell her to keep singing. If my voice is gone, let hers rise louder. We came into the world together, if I must leave early. I'll wait for her at the finish line, where no tears fall. Daniel paused, fighting the lump rising in his throat. He wrote that the day we enlisted, she said. Told me he had a feeling something would go wrong. Daniel closed the notebook and handed it back carefully. That's not just poetry, Elena. That's purpose. He believed in you, enough to entrust his dream to you. Tears fell silently down her cheeks. What if I mess up? What if I can't carry it? You don't have to carry it alone, Daniel replied. That's what this place is for. Not just building strength, but building family. Elena nodded slowly. Thank you, for not making me feel broken. You're not broken, he said, standing again. You're a soldier, and a sister. And from where I'm standing, you're doing both damn well. As he turned to leave, she spoke again. Staff Sergeant? He looked back. Do you miss your wife? Daniel froze. Every day, he said. I see her in my daughter's eyes. Hear her laugh in memories. But I've learned that grief isn't a prison. It's a shadow. And shadows mean there's still light somewhere. Elena stood, shoulders a little straighter. Can I meet your daughter sometime? He smiled. She'd like that. She doesn't have many people to talk to who understand loss. I think I'd like to meet her too, Elena said. Daniel nodded. Then it's a plan. Now go splash some water on your face. You've got drills in 10. But if you ever need to talk again, you know where to find me. As he stepped back into the hallway, the door closing softly behind him, Daniel felt something shift. The hallway, though just as silent as before, felt less hollow. Less burdened. And somewhere behind that door, a young woman who thought she had nothing left was beginning to stand a little taller. Daniel paused mid-step and looked out the nearby window. The sun had finally broken through the clouds. Sometimes, the army made warriors. Sometimes, it healed the wounded. And sometimes, it gave people, both young and old, a second chance to believe in each other.